Today, the Detroit Lions play the most important and crucial game in the franchise's regular season history. A game that decides not only the champions of the NFC North, not only the number one seed in the NFC, but grants a first round bye and home field advantage throughout the entirety of the playoffs. This is a matchup that could determine Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, MVP voting, and so many other accolades. And it all comes down to the final game of the regular season. And today, we got some good news, as last night the Detroit Lions put out a number of roster moves, a number of changes to the 53, and the Lions got quite a bit of a boost from it, bringing back both Alex Anzalone and Khalif Raymond. Both have officially been activated, and both are not questionable for the game, but are expected to suit up and play. So today we're going to do a quick video just talking about the impact that these two players can have, talk about the fact that they are, kind of break the news that they're playing, and then get into the rest of the roster moves. So with that being said, January 4th, last night at about 4 or 5 p.m., the Detroit Lions put out a statement, a pretty big statement with a lot of roster moves, a lot of manipulation, and overall just a lot of moving pieces for this organization going into such a crucial matchup. Of course, we have Emmanuel Moseley being placed on the NFI reserve list. He is a player that has played 2 games for the Detroit Lions this year and has yet to record a tackle, has only played special team snaps, and has yet to take a defensive snap in Detroit since tearing his ACL in week 5 of 2023. His journey to Detroit has been one filled with injuries, has been one filled with doubt, has been one filled with criticism. And unfortunately, Emmanuel Moseley was yet again placed on the non-football illness reserve list and will likely miss the remainder of the season. The good news, though, is that last night the Detroit Lions activated not one, but 2 players, that being Khalif Raymond, the wide receiver slash special teams ace, and Alex Anzalone, the team captain, the heart and soul of this defense, the Lions' best player on defense now coming back to the organization. Both have been activated, both are likely to play, and both are likely to make an impact tonight. The Detroit Lions also signed undrafted rookie free agent Maurice Norris from the practice squad. They signed Tom Kennedy back to the practice squad because, of course, they did, and they elevated defensive lineman Chris Smith to the active roster for today. Taking a look at Anzalone, we talked about him a lot this week, so I'll make it quick, but again, just wanted to break the news that he was officially activated and likely to play. Alex Anzalone was injured in week 9, about halftime of the Jacksonville Jaguars game, after colliding with not only a Jags player, but his own teammate, his arm getting pinched between the shoulder pads and fracturing his forearm. Before exiting that game, Anzalone had totaled 56 tackles on the season, 7 TFLs, 4 quarterback hits, 4 passes defended, and a sack. He was ready to set career milestones in TFLs and passes defended, and was having what was one of the best seasons of his NFL career. As I said, he is a team leader. He is a team captain. He is the heart and soul of the defense. He is the centerpiece that makes everything run efficiently. And the Lions have been missing him quite a bit. The defense has been significantly worse since Alex Anzalone left. And yeah, while Aiden Hutchinson was a big loss, I think Alex Anzalone was bigger. Alex Anzalone is the communicator on that defense. He's the leader. He's the captain. He is the guy that everybody looks to right the ship. And without Alex Anzalone, the defense has been bad. Without Alex Anzalone, they've given up almost 500 yards a game and over 30 points as a defense per game in the absence of number 34. He officially returns tonight. He's going to be wearing a large cast, might be a little bit limited in what he can do, but the leadership is going to be back, and Lions are getting a playmaker. The linebacking core now, after several weeks of Ezekiel Turner and Jamal Adams and Quan Alexander, now looks quite good. Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell will take a majority of the snaps. Jalen Reeves-Maybin and Trevor Nowaske will get in on certain packages. And the Lions go from having really one starting caliber linebacker to now having 3 or 4 in the linebacking core in just a couple of weeks. And I think it will make a pretty massive difference in the game when it comes to not only stopping the run, but against the play action as well, where Alex Anzalone is so incredibly crucial. Khalif Raymond is also returning. He was injured in week 11 on a special teams rep against the Indianapolis Colts. And despite his statistics not being eye popping off the charts, he's been really good this year. He had 204 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns through the year before his injury. But of course, as we all know, his biggest contributions to the team are his return yards, are his return ability, in which he had 390 return yards in 1 return touchdown. Despite not playing since week 11, Khalif Raymond still ranks 3rd in the NFL in return yards, still ranks 1st in the NFL in touchdown returns, and still has the 3rd longest return of the NFL season. He is, I believe, a top 5 in yards per return metric, and he is just quite honestly one of the best returners in the NFL, one of the most underrated playmakers on this Lions offense. He is quick, he is fast, he runs good routes, he's a reliable guy with his hands, and he is overall a player that could be utilized as a weapon. The last time the Lions and the Vikings met back in week 6, Khalif Raymond was the player to get the Lions on the board. He was the one to have a receiving touchdown to put the Detroit Lions up late in the 4th quarter with a go-ahead touchdown, which ultimately resulted in the Lions winning the game. Raymond is a player that Jared Goff has a lot of confidence in. He's a player that Jared Goff loves to go to in big situations. And Khalif Raymond, as I said, one of the most underrated players in the league, is now returning to Detroit, making a wide receiving core that, again, looks pretty good. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams are both potentially going to hit 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns on the season this year. Tim Patrick has been a super reliable wide receiver 3. Khalif Raymond now returns as the wide receiver 4/backup slot wide receiver. And of course, Allen Robinson as your wide receiver 5. This is a pretty good wide receiving core. Overall, I think there's a lot worse receiving cores in the NFL, and this is the one that they'll take into the playoffs. This is the one that they wanted at the beginning of the year. And now, in the first time in over 6 weeks, the Detroit Lions have their full strength back on offense. Moseley, unfortunately, as I said, has been placed on the non-football illness list. After a torn pectoral in camp, he returned in week 11, made his NFL Detroit Lions 2024 debut against the Indianapolis Colts, where he played primarily special teams. He's played 29 special team snaps across 2 games for the Detroit Lions this year. He's played 0 defensive snaps. And now, after not only 2 major injuries, but also now a major illness, Emmanuel Moseley's time in Detroit is likely over. I doubt he'll get cut. I think he'll be on the injury reserve / illness reserve / NFI list for the remainder of the season. But when his contract is up, I don't think he returns to Detroit. Has brought 0 value, mostly due to being off the field due to injuries. And as unfortunate as it is, as much as I wanted Emmanuel Moseley to work out, as much as I still root for Emmanuel Moseley, the reality is if you're not on the field, you're not staying with the team. And Emmanuel Moseley's time in Detroit has been bitter. It's been riddled with injuries. It has quite honestly sucked. And unfortunately, I think that this might be the final nail in the coffin for Emmanuel Moseley's career in Detroit. But with that being said, let's take a look and end on a positive note. Taking a look at the Detroit Lions starting defense going into this game. We know their offense is elite. We know Jared Goff is an MVP caliber quarterback. We know that Amon-Ra St. Brown is an all-pro caliber wide receiver. We know the offensive line can be great. We know Jahmyr Gibbs is great. We know Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta and Khalif Raymond and Tim Patrick are all great. But this game is going to come down to the defense. This game is going to come down to what team can get a stop first. It's going to come down to a couple of turnovers, a couple of major plays, and a couple of stops on defense. And this is the defense that's going to have to do it. Zadarius Smith, DJ Reader, Pat O'Connor, Levi Onwuzurike, and Josh Paschal as your front 4. They're going to rotate quite a bit. They're going to move inside. They're going to move outside. It's not a great pass rushing front, but it should be a decent run stopping front for a team that doesn't run the ball very well in Minnesota. If this defensive line can make Minnesota one-dimensional, make them throw the ball a ton and run the ball very, very little, I think the Lions are going to have a chance to win this game. If they allow a lot of rushing yards, if they allow Minnesota to be balanced and multifunctional on offense, it's going to be a really, really long day, just like it was against the 49ers. The linebacking core gets a massive boost this week, with Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell being the 2 starters this week, with Trevor Nowaske, who's been a pleasant surprise this year off of waiver wires, and Reeves Maben in his second game back from injuries. That linebacking core should be much improved, both from a communication standpoint and an execution standpoint. And despite missing CB1 and Carlton Davis III, I think the secondary looks okay as well. Terrion Arnold has not been the bad cornerback that a lot of people say he is. He drew a lot of flags early in his NFL career, has drawn very few flags as of recent months. He's made a couple big PBUs, and even though he doesn't have an interception on the year, I think the overall takeaway from his rookie season has been more positive than it has been negative. He's going up against one of the best wide receiving duos in the NFL this week. I'm not expecting him to play great. I'm not expecting Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison to have 0 receptions for 0 yards. But if he can make a couple big plays, make 2 PBUs, maybe take the football away, I think the Lions are going to have a good chance in this game. Amik Robertson has been pretty good on the outside over the last couple of weeks, one of the highest graded cornerbacks via PFF over that time span. I think he's a pretty solid player on the outside. Brian Branch playing in the slot has been in a little bit of a slump recently, but is still the Pro Bowl caliber safety that he is. He's going to rotate at safety, rotate at nickel, move around the defense, and do a lot of good things for them. And then, of course, you have Melifonwu, who had the interception to seal the game a season ago, and Kirby Joseph, the NFL's leading interceptions player in the NFL this season. He has the most interceptions of anybody in the league with 9. Could potentially hit double digits this week, but that, of course, is yet to be seen. This is a defense that has to get it done. A defense that can make the Vikings one-dimensional, a secondary that will probably give up a lot of yards but hasn't given up many touchdowns, a secondary that takes the football away really well, and a secondary that I think can get the job done. Overall, it's going to be a really tight game. It's going to be a really fun game. I'm really excited for it, and I hope you guys are too. So until next time, and as always, we'll talk about the game tomorrow. Go Lions.